Hello, I'm State Representative Kristina Roegner from the 42nd House District, and welcome to Ohio in Focus.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Ohio in Focus, a program that brings state government to you. I'm your host, Brad Miller. We have with us today State Representative Kristina Roegner, who serves the 42nd House District, which includes Cuyahoga Falls, Hudson, Monroe Falls, Silver Lake, and Stowe. Thank you for joining us today, Representative.
Thank you, Brad. It's great to be here.
So can you start by talking about the last couple months and what's been going on in the legislature?
Oh my goodness, the last couple of months have been very much like the last year and a half. They have just been very, very busy, productive, tremendous months. A lot of legislation passing, very exciting things. I myself have had 4 bills already signed into law and several others working through the process.
So a lot of work has been done in the district as well. Also, I understand you visited a fellow representative's district.
I did. Interestingly enough, the representative whose district I visited is Representative Bill Patman, and he's a Democrat from the Cleveland area. And he and I were working on a bill together. It's House Bill 437, which is for school bus mileage. And through the course of that interaction, we realized, you know, like our perspectives are really quite different, and a lot of that might be driven because of the very different natures of the districts. And we thought, how interesting would it be to really, or eye-opening, to go and visit a different district? So we planned the day that he could take me anywhere he wanted for the morning. I think this was on April 30th. And then I would, in turn, would take him around Hudson and Stowe and our district, so we could both get a flavor of what it was like. And it was really a tremendous visit. In Cleveland, we took a tour of the Horseshoe Casino before it opened. We visited a school, Lincoln West, of course in his district, and the Famico Foundation. So it was very, very eye-opening for me and a very good experience. In turn, when he came to Hudson, we took a walking tour of the historic district. We visited the Western Reserve Academy, where that was the genesis of our bill, 437. We had lunch, and then we also went to the Stowe High School, where I volunteer.
And what do you do at Stowe High School? What are you involved in there?
Oh, that's been one of the most amazing experiences this last year for me. The beginning of the year, I reached out to the superintendent and I said, listen, I just want to help public schools, and any way I can be of use to you, just put me to work. Whether it's helping in the cafeteria at lunch or teaching algebra, it doesn't matter. Well, lo and behold, they said, we're going to put you in the government class. No surprise. So they paired me up with a teacher. His name is Marty Tinkler, and I've just been visiting his classes on a regular basis, the morning classes and some in the afternoon. And we've been working through the government, and I bring the perspective from Columbus. So we've been doing so many fun things like role playing. I'll take the class and we'll divide them up. Half of the students are the senators, the other half will be the representatives. And we role play just like we do. I make them stand up next to their desk. We debate bills. They'll vote on them, go from one chamber to the other. The teacher's the governor. We just had so much fun with that. I also was able to get Lieutenant Governor Mary Taylor to come in when we were talking about the executive branch. She did an amazing job explaining what that's like. And then for the judicial branch, I brought in a judge, and Judge Amy Corrigal-Jones, and we role played. We did mock trials in class. So I went in there wanting to give to the school, and honestly, Brad, I tell you, I have received so much back in turn from that. It's been a very rewarding experience.
Makes government a more interesting topic when they can get involved like that. And you mentioned House Bill 437, which extends mileage limits for school buses. Can you go into that a little bit?
That just started because the Western Reserve Academy, which is in Hudson, reached out to me and said, listen, we want to take our students to Niagara Falls, but we have a tight budget, and we wanted to do it on a regular school bus, but we found out that according to Ohio law, you can only go out of state 240 miles round trip. So they couldn't quite make it to Niagara Falls. They looked into chartering a school bus and chartering a bus and found out that that was just prohibitively expensive, so they ended up not even going. So they said, can you please consider changing the law, give us some more flexibility, it'll help us save money, increase the experiences and the enrichment for the children. And we said, absolutely. So we've been working on that. Happy to say it passed unanimously out of the House Education Committee, unanimously through the House, unanimously through the Senate Education Committee, and now we are just awaiting a vote on this in the Senate for that, and hopefully we'll get that done into the governor's desk soon.
Good. Obviously mentioned earlier how it's been a lot of flurry of activity, so we'll kind of go through some of the other bills you've been working on. House Bill 364 deals with securitization. Please, layman terms.
Layman terms, what that
mean?
One is. Okay, the easiest way to explain this one is, this is for public utilities. Oftentimes when public utilities have a cost that they need to collect back from the ratepayers, they'll do it over time. And there would be interest built into that. So as you pay your utility bill, you're paying the expense plus the interest back to the utility, their weighted average cost of capital. What this bill does, House Bill 364, allows them to do is they can go to the bond market and they can securitize that debt. So what happens in a sense is the utility will get their money right away and they can get AAA rating because of the provisions we put in there. And that AAA is key because that's lower interest rates, meaning then the customers won't have to be paying as much as they otherwise would. So it's a win-win. The utilities get their money sooner, they can reinvest it. Electric ratepayers like you and me, we will see lower rates as a result.
Always good news.
Yeah, that is great news. Yeah.
House Bill 94, the Common Sense Initiative.
Yeah. This was the first bill that I had signed by the governor. I'm very, very proud of this one. It was House Bill 94. It had a companion legislation, right. Senate Bill 2. And what that does is it says for all rules and regulations in Ohio, we now want to say, what is the adverse impact on business? Let's take into consideration what this is going to do to our economy and then weigh that off with the public benefit and then say, does that make sense? And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, we're going to go back to the drawing board and say, either scrap it or let's fix it so that it does make sense. So it's a very good bill. It's underway. It's working. There's a great example of that. There was a little company in Ohio that made food products like sauces and purees and dressings and so forth. And there was a rule in Ohio that said if you make food products, you have to buy your alcohol. If it's an ingredient in there, you have to buy it retail. So imagine a vat this big and they're dumping one little bottle of wine in at a time when their competitors out of state can buy it wholesale. That was putting Ohio companies at a competitive disadvantage. So this is working. If anyone listening has a rule or regulation that's an Ohio rule or regulation, they think it doesn't make sense, we want to hear about it, contact the Common Sense Initiative and we can get that fixed.
Another bill that might be a surprise to some Ohioans that this wasn't already in law, House Bill 244, dealing with EMT immunizations.
Right.
What can you say about that?
This one, I too, when I found out that you've got EMTs there, these trained medical technicians that can't even give their own colleagues or firefighters that they serve with immunizations, but they had to do in the past was get a nurse, set an hour, everyone come in if you want your flu shot, and needless to say, that was just onerous and time-consuming and inflexible and cost more. So this little bill allows them the freedom, if they'd so choose, to have their own trained technicians provide the immunization. So not only is it good for flexibility, saving costs, but we're hoping that more people will get the immunization, and then that'll in turn protect the public. So a little bill, but a way,
another common sense.
Yeah,
kind
another
of idea,
common sense move, exactly.
So a lot of bills obviously deal with economics and business development. There are also bills being moved through the legislature that deal with social issues, such as House Bill 78, which you sponsored,
Yes.
dealing with late-term abortions.
Yes, this is also known as a viability bill. Up until this bill went into effect, it was legal in Ohio to have an abortion up until the day you gave birth. And the medical statistics of it was really quite horrifying. I mean, after 20 weeks of pregnancy, there were on average about 620 abortions a year after week 20. What this bill does is it says, listen, once that baby is viable after week 20, and that means that baby can live outside the mother's womb, then that is a life that needs to be protected. And if there, so you cannot have an abortion unless a mother's life is at risk, in which case, then this bill says you need to have 2 doctors present, one for the mother and one for the child, and do everything in your power to save both lives. So we're delighted that that one has passed and been signed into law and is taken effect.
And we've just honored veterans in the State House.
Yeah.
You had a veteran who lost his life from your district in Stowe.
Yes.
What can you say about
that? That was probably one of the hardest things we have to do as a representative, but yet one of the proudest is to recognize those men and women who are soldiers and have fallen in the line of service. And Second Lieutenant David Rylander, he's from Stowe. He was 23 years old, and on May 2nd, he was killed by insurgents who attacked his unit with an improvised explosive device. He was homeschooled for 12 years by his mother. He was an Eagle Scout. He was part of the Boy Scout troop in Hudson at 777, and so Hudson feels his loss as deeply as does Stowe. He went on to West Point and graduated from West Point, became an officer, and went over there. And he was such an amazing person. I mean, when he would speak to his parents and ask them to send him, all he would ask for is said, please send, candy and crayons. And it wasn't for him. He wanted the candy and crayons for the children of Afghanistan. All he wanted for himself and for his fellow soldiers were prayers. And it was amazing. I called his mother after he passed and spoke with her, and it was probably one of the most amazing conversations of my life. She just wanted through his death to still give glory to God, and it shared with me that his favorite verse is from Philippians, and it says that I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So it was really an amazing, amazing young man, and his loss is felt deeply in our district. But we are so proud of him and all our other soldiers.
And you mentioned earlier how that has kind of brought the community together in a way.
Definitely. Oh my goodness, there were just flags lined up and down the streets. I went to the calling hours at the funeral home, and it was just lines out the door. I mean, through every room, circling around. I mean, the community truly is mourning the loss, but an amazingly, amazingly strong and faithful family.
So as we move forward, there will still be some legislative sessions, maybe not as busy as what we've just gone through. What are some things briefly over the summer that you might be working on throughout the district?
Well, we're going to continue in the district to host our office hours. We do that on a regular basis. So every month I try to visit the libraries in Stowe and Cuyahoga Falls and Hudson. Those are where our 3 big libraries are. And I just love it when people come and share with me what's on their mind and what they're thinking about issues. Other than that, we'll be continuing to push forward some, just working on legislation behind the scenes that are still in committee, such as that school bus bill. We need to get that through the Senate. I have a bill, it's 368, and that's a financial outlook book. It is, all these numbers. But the financial outlook bill, which is, that would say, okay, Ohio, we do a 2-year budget, and that's fine, but let's look forward further than that so that we don't end up ever surprised the way things are heading. Just want to be able to be proactive with legislation. So we'll be working on that, and just working in the district. There are a lot of activities in the summer.
Always stuff going on.
To engage in. I mean, just the communities come alive. I mean, in Hudson we have the farmers market, and there's a taste of Hudson. So there's all sorts of great things to be doing around the district.
Your constituents can meet you in person at your office hours. As far as contacting your office here in Columbus, what is the easiest or best way for them to do that?
Well, first of all, they can call our office, and that's 614-466-1177. And my aide Cora Slack is very good about, we'll be getting back to them. And you mentioned the office hours. Yes, if they can come to office hours, great. But if they're, for some reason, inconvenient time for them, I am happy to meet with anybody one-on-one, and I'm happy to set up the time to do that. So just reach out to Cora and get that scheduled.
Representative, thank you for taking time out of your busy day
to meet with us. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate that.
We look forward to seeing you again on the next edition of Ohio in Focus, the program that brings state government to you. Thank you for joining us.